Hey guys, it's Emmy back. This is actually going to be a different video. Well, a different kind of videos. So, I have been thinking for a while now to do some kind of series in addition to my regular floss tubes about being pagan, about being a witch. I think that there's a lot of pop culture stuff out there right now. There's a lot of deep set thinkings about paganism and witchcraft that I would like to do my best to dispel. There's a lot of designers out there, like the Witchy Stitcher comes to mind, who has some beautiful, beautiful charts that are kind of more traditional pagan specific, right? So she has a lot of her whole little series that she did with all of the solstices and equinoxes, right? So Beltane and Samhain and Yule and all those are stunning. And I have purchased a few to stitch for my altar because I am pagan. So this is just going to be a little introduction video. Not little. I mean, I plan on having them each about an hour long. And they're going to be different from my floss tube. So my floss tube videos are going to be still usually about 95% stitching related. Sometimes I go on tangents, I know, but will still be, fully about my progress and what I've been working on and just the stitchy stuff in general. That's where I'm going to do like all the haul and everything that I get because let's face it, I have a problem. So I'm so tired, you guys. Sorry. It's July 1st, and so I figured it would be, new thing, right? And I'm not doing this. I don't care if anybody watches this. I'm doing this for me because I feel like as a witch, as someone who identifies as a witch, I'm very open about it. I tend to be, I guess, a little naive in the fact that I would hope that no one would judge me because I'm a witch. And I identify as pagan. I know that there's people out there that do. I know there's people out there that, might not watch my floss tube videos because of these videos. And honestly, it's sad to me, but I understand that some people just, they feel the need to do that. It's a bummer, but whatever. Sorry, Jen also jumped up on me, that's why. I just actually looked at myself, and I noticed that I have mud all over me, so thank you, Jen. So, like I said, these are going to be totally separate. These will have a different title. So these videos are going to be called Witchin, Stitchin, and Bitchin because that's what we will be doing. I will try to pick at least a video, but I might have like a continuation. Different kind of witchy chart that I think is a really cool thing. At either at the beginning or the end of every video, while we talk, there will be times when I have to use both hands because I'm intense and I need to use my hands when I talk. And then there will be times where I'm just stitching on like some kind of witchy chart. So I got some tea, but I forgot a little hot thingy. So use my impromptu hot pad. Da, da, da. So, yeah, I was just going to do like a little intro to it, but then I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just go for it. So, today I'm going to be stitching on the La-Di-Da Double Trouble, or no, Toil and Trouble, sorry, which I'm super excited about. You guys saw me, I kitted this up at Mindy's, where I work. And so I did start on it. This is actually take number 2 that I'm doing. I'm trying something new. Um, Instead of recording in iMovie, which is what I use because I'm lazy, it's like crashed on me like 4 times throughout the last week or two after I filmed like an entire hour-long video, and then it like when I go to save it, it like closes. So I'm actually filming this in Photo Booth, which is the camera that it uses anyways in iMovie, and then hopefully that'll be good. So we'll see, and then I'll import it to iMovie and do all that. So yeah, you guys didn't need to know that, but whatever. So I'm stitching this in Planet Earth fiber silks. And I gotta say, silks are really nice. Maybe just because it's like an organic silk, it's not as like super luscious as like a Gloriana or something, but it's still really nice. The tangling is like 0, which I think is the big thing. You know what? I'm going to turn this light off because I feel like I am so washed out right now. Whatever. Maybe I'll just lean back a little bit. Okay, so welcome to Witchin, Stitchin, and Bitchin. Like I said, my goal with these videos are not to convert people to paganism. They're not to brainwash people. They're really just to give some information and be relatively informative on the pagan religion and witchcraft and all that jazz. So where to begin? So I'll start with just my personal path. So I did not grow up religious. I grew up, my mom was agnostic. She definitely was, of the idea that, there's definitely a higher power. She didn't ever really care to know what that higher power was, and she was okay with that. It was just kind of like the fact that there was one was okay. And my dad, I think, grew up kind of Christian. But at the same time, like, they didn't really, like, they didn't go to church every day, and they went to church on holidays and maybe some Sundays. And I think I remember him saying that it was more of like a guilt thing that that his parents like made him go, kind of a thing. So we didn't really grow up religious. My mom and dad, I was really, really lucky to grow up in a family where my parents, we didn't have like a family religion. So if we wanted to go to church with a friend, we could. So my sister and I both had an experience with a friend of ours who was Buddhist. We were doing some kind of like play or presentation, or I don't even know what we were doing. But I went to a Buddhist temple when I was in 6th grade, and that was phenomenal. I have been to Catholic Mass. I've been to Christian services. I don't think I've ever been to a synagogue. I have had a couple friends who were Jewish. And I think it goes back to like, I just love learning. I love learning, especially about people's religion. I love knowing about why people believe what they believe. I think it's really important. I think it's important for like your like human nature to understand what makes someone do something, especially if they're religious, right? Like if they feel like this is their purpose. I feel like religion is one of those things that maybe helps people have a purpose, feel like they have a purpose other than just like to live. Because it's like, this is God's will and that kind of stuff. So I love to know that about people. I love to know that. And I just love religions. I think it's just fascinating to me. So I was always just very interested in other people's religions. I love talking about religion, obviously. I'm doing this little series. Um, and like I said earlier, I'm very open with mine. I want people to know that, I mean, usually I don't just come like outright and say it. They're like, hey, I'm a witch. Nice to meet you. Um, because, and I do that for a very specific reason. Um, I'm a very friendly person. I think I'm a pretty bubbly person. I am a positive person. And I want people to see that and then maybe find out that I am pagan or that I'm a witch. And because I want it to not necessarily like break stereotypes, but I just want to be like, see, we're not bad. We're not evil. I'm one, so it can't be that horrible. Um, so anyways, I'll get into that later. But so my past. So we never really grew up religious. I always had a really big connection with nature. I always had kind of that intuition of karma. Like my mom was really into karma. And just like, you know, what goes around comes around. And though that's something that's really big in paganism, is they formally refer to it as the rule of three. In that, like, you know, if you do something good, good things will happen to you 3 times as good. And if you do something bad, then something will happen to you 3 times as bad. So let me get drunk real quick. Let me put this down because I need to like think about what I'm saying here. Okay, so this is what I mean. This will be like half stitching, half not, because I'll get really into it and stop stitching. But okay, so so when I was in high school, there's a lot of tea leaves in here, whatever. When I was in high school, I had a group of friends that were very religious, and they subscribed to the Young Life, Campus Life, that stuff. It just wasn't me. I wasn't a fan. And I remember having a conversation. We were juniors in high school. I remember having a conversation with them about because I think maybe like they wanted me to go with them or something like that. I don't know. And this was before I like formally found paganism. So I remember sitting there and talking with them, and I was like, yeah, you know, I feel like, you know, people should look at the Bible as more of guidelines on how to live their life. And that didn't go over really well with them. So they basically told me that by saying that I didn't feel like you should live your life exactly how the Bible says, and that you should use it for guidance, and like I said, guidelines on how to live your life, but you shouldn't take it word for word. That meant to them that I, one, didn't believe in the Bible, and in doing that I was going to burn in hell for all eternity, which they said to my face. So obviously, being my mother's daughter, that didn't sit well with me. So I was kind of like, okay. So that was my first kind of turn off from Christianity. Then going along, you know, my senior year, and weirdly we drifted apart after that. Weird. And then going into college, I noticed, early college years, I noticed that there were a ton of people that in high school were very reserved, very much into the living the Christian life, but yet were hooking up with people every other night and were getting blackout drunk almost every night, but then would go to church on Sunday and be like, no, we're good. And it was like, okay, no, I don't think that you need to be celibate or abstain from everything. But at the same time, like, you're preaching to me about how you love your religion, but yet you're just like blatantly disregarding a lot of what your religion holds important, right? Which is fine. So that like but like that hypocrisy was a little, and I say hypocrisy lightly because obviously we were in college. We were just turned 21. Like, come on. But like, so that hit with me a little bit because I started having this thinking of like, like maybe Christianity isn't all that bad. And in college, I was definitely looking. Midway through college, I started looking for like a constant, right? Because that's something that, it's chaos in your life in college. You have classes that change all the time. Your job has to change all the time because your classes change all the time. You're kind of on your own for the first time. I wanted something that was going to be like steady, that no matter what I was doing, what my schedule was, anything like that, it was going to be fine. It was going to be there, and it was going to be the same as when I left it. So I started looking into religion. I started with Christianity, obviously, because it's the easy one. And I still just kept coming back to the same concerns that I had always had. One was just the kind of like, maybe two-faced is more the word that I'm looking for, because I know that there are people who are very much followers of Christ and followers of his teachings that are wonderfully amazing people. And I have friends that are like that I absolutely adore and love. So I know they're out there. I know it's not like every single Christian, and I don't want this series to be any kind of like Christian bashing. Because it's not. I like pretty much everybody. I actually have a really hard time if somebody doesn't like me. It like really eats at me. I don't know why. But anyways, that's like a whole mental health thing I need to go down. But so anyways, so I'm gonna yawn again, sorry. That was a big one. Okay, so this is really hot. I got my teacup. Yeah, that's so, I can like feel the heat coming off me. So I started looking at Christianity. I went to Borders. I vividly remember this when Borders was still a thing. I went to Borders and I was looking at just like the spirituality, religion stuff. So I was looking at all of the Christian stuff, and I really wanted something that was, I didn't want to have to change a ton of my lifestyle. And lifestyle is in the sense of like, I didn't want like new things to adopt, to be like, oh, I'm Christian, so I have to believe this, or oh, I'm, Jewish, so I have to believe this. Like, I didn't want that idea. So I was looking at Christianity, and the more I was reading about it, and the more I was looking at different books about it, I just had a hard time subscribing to the stuff that I was concerned about, right? This would have been 2007, 2008. I also was liberal, or am liberal. And so a lot of my social views differ from traditional Christianity. And so that was hard for me because that was something that I'm very much, that's not an identity. Like, I don't think my political party side isn't an identity of mine. But that was something where I was like, I'm not going to give up what I wholeheartedly believe in to have a religion. So I was getting kind of defeated, obviously. And then the religion stuff led into the spirituality, which then started on like all Eastern religions, right? Buddhism, what was the other one? A lot of like chakra work, and a lot of you know, meditation things, which then led into the occult. So I have always been a lover of supernatural things. It always fascinated me. The same way that I kind of am like, you know, like I love aliens. I love old things. I love things that have stories. I just love supernatural things. I love the idea that there's something that can't be explained. Like I love that. And so obviously that started, like the occult stuff started with like ghost hunting and stuff. And I was like, this is cool, you know? But then it led into paganism. And then followed very closely by Wicca and witchcraft. And so the first book I ever picked up was actually called Wicca for One. And I don't know, it's in my bookshelf over there. And so I picked that up, and it was by Raymond Buckland. Actually, all right, I'll go get it. Hold on one sec. Hi, sweet girl. All right, so it's called Wicca for One. It's by Raymond Buckland. It's the path to a solitary witchcraft. So I like highlighted. So anyways, so this is the first book I picked up. And this was a really good book. This was a good introduction to Wicca, what it is, where it comes from, traditions, all that kind of stuff. As I started studying this and just reading more about it, I came across paganism. And for a long time, I just thought Wicca was kind of it. That it was like either you're Wiccan or you're not. Not the case, 100%. So paganism, and there's a really amazing book, and I don't have it because obviously I lent it to someone. But it's called Paganism, An Introduction to Earth-Centered Religions, and it's by Joyce and River Higginbotham. And it's like on Amazon for, I don't know, like $13, $14 or whatever. So then I found that book, and that book really helped me develop who I am now as a witch. So paganism is the umbrella term for like it says, an earth-centered religion. If you subscribe to a religion that has a few things in common for its core main tenets, you are a pagan. So myself, I am a pagan witch. There's a lot of other things you can be, but that's how I identify, because I subscribe to paganism versus Wicca. So that's where it gets kind of complicated. So paganism is the umbrella term, right? Just like Christianity is the umbrella term for Lutherans, Baptists, Episcopalians, I don't know, just normal Christians. I don't really know. Sorry. That's where, like, I don't want this to be offensive at all, because, like, I don't know a lot about Christianity. So I don't want anybody to, like, feel that I'm, like, making fun of them, because I'm not. Hi, baby girl. What you doing? What you doing? Back up. Beep, 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 beep. You want to say hi? Oh, it's really far down. Hi, sweet girl. You want to come lay right here? Yeah, you laid right here yesterday. Is this where you want to go? She's been very needy today. Hi, you want to lay down right here? Just flop. Yeah. So I don't know what she's doing. Anyways, so paganism is the umbrella term for things like Wicca, witchcraft, some forms of Santeria, Taoism, which is yin and yang, or maybe it's Taoism. I can't remember how you say it. There's a T in there somewhere, but I can't remember how you say it. Excuse me. Some Eastern religions are in the realm of paganism, but because a lot of popular culture stuff, people don't want to be pagan, right? It's like a weird, bad thing. Voodoo. So not voodoo, voodoo, which is, I think, the traditional African way to say voodoo is voodoo. Okay. That's a form of paganism. So paganism is the umbrella term. There are still tenets, though, where if you believe in paganism, if you are pagan, you believe these things. Those main things are, you have a very deep connection to the earth. You love the earth. You feel at peace, surrounded by nature, whatever that may be. You could be a pagan living in the desert and feel very comfortable sitting in the middle of a grassland, or not grassland, a desert, with just seeing the sand and the heat, and that could be very, very fulfilling for you. For me, I'm a trees and water kind of person. Put me down in the middle of a freaking forest by a river, and I am golden. There's people who love the ocean, and they feel complete peace and serenity in the sand. And I'm not talking like we all feel peaceful at the beach, right? I'm talking like you have a sense of pure, uninterrupted soul happiness, right? Soul fulfillment. That is quenched when you are in your happy place, right? You know, like some people, like they just have this like wave of peace come over them when they walk into church. That's how a pagan feels when they walk into a river, a stream, a forest, a meadow, whatever. And it's a deep connection, right? It's a connection that is finding beauty and magic in mundane things, in a tree. I can't tell you how many times I'll just sit outside and look at trees. I love trees. It breaks my heart when they get cut down because I love them so much. I understand the, commercial and, purpose that trees have in our world today. But I still love to just freaking sit and look at them. Listen to the wind. Like rustling trees on like a relatively overcast, maybe thunderstormy day. That's my spot. Like that's my place that I feel amazing. So deep connection to the earth, and everything on it. So humans, animals, organisms, bacteria, like it's all part of that. That kind of correlates with like most pagans who have a really deep connection with animals. On a, what's it called? Like a personification of animals. It's kind of funny, but anyways. The next one is karma. I would say the vast majority of pagans do have a sense of karma and what we would call the rule of three, where, like I said earlier, if you do something good, good things will come onto you in, a multiplier of three. If you do something bad, bad things will come onto you in a multiplier of three. And that kind of helps the whole, wanting to do good just to do good, versus, like wanting to do good so that, I get something. It's not like monetary value. It's like if I help someone move, maybe my next move will be super easy, or I'll, whatever. You guys get the gist, though. It's karma. What goes around comes around. What else? Oh, it's polytheistic. That's probably the biggest one. The biggest one that's very different. So pagans do not believe in just one god or one goddess. There is, at least there are paths of paganism, Wicca specifically, that aren't male and female. And I say that in the very basis of you can't really have one without the other. They're both needed in order to create and sustain life. Because it really all is about life. It's about life and death and the cycles that we have. Most traditions believe in reincarnation. There is kind of like an afterlife that a lot of witches and pagans subscribe to, which is kind of like fairy world, right? It's a magical place that, you will spend time there and on your way to your next life. It's like a train station. And let's see. So yeah, polytheistic. So many gods and goddesses. Oh, that's what I was saying. There are some paths who subscribe to a very just specific female. And that's usually called like Dianic witchcraft or Dianic Wicca. Why do I keep wanting to say Wicca? That's so funny. Wicca. And that is they very much focus on the female energy. And the female side of everything. Their patron goddess is Diana. Weird. So what else? Polytheistic, reincarnation, karma, deep connection to the earth. I think that's relatively it. There might be some other similarities, but I think that's the biggest one. Most pagan traditions, those are the common themes. So, under paganism, the two that I'm most familiar with are Wicca and witchcraft. Two different things. So, all Wiccans are witches. Not all witches are Wiccans, if that makes sense. So if you are Wiccan, you go through a dedication to a certain god or goddess that would be what they would call your patron god and goddess. So these are, and they can be as specific as a certain god and a certain goddess, a very specific main one. For most pagans, I think, you do have a patron deity, but it's not as formal. I think that's the biggest thing for me about Wicca and just traditional witchcraft, is that Wicca is formal. You are dedicating yourself almost like you're being baptized within the patron deities that you are choosing. There's also a little bit of, I don't want to say there's a list of rules because there isn't. So in witchcraft in general and paganism in general, we don't have a Bible, right? I don't have a pagan Bible. I have books called the Pagan Bible. That just means they're filled with information. We don't have a Bible. We don't have a great book, a holy book. Because paganism is so individual. It is, well, and I'll say witchcraft because that's really what I'm talking about. I'm really talking about witchcraft. So I am pagan because I subscribe to reincarnation, karma, love of the earth, polytheistic. So that's like my identifier, right? But I am a witch. I'm not Wiccan. I do spells. I participate in rituals. I love to learn about things. So witchcraft is a form of paganism. Wicca is a form of paganism. So Wicca also has, I would say, some different guidelines. The main one being, so there's a thing called the Wiccan Rede, and it's REDE. And medieval English, that just meant basically like clarify, to explain. So there was basically like, or, guidelines. So it was like, these are guidelines that Wiccans live by. And they're very, they're not anything crazy. It's just, let me bring it up on my phone. Oh, man. Okay. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm so tired, you guys. Okay. So it's a couple paragraphs. Oh, you can't even see that. So it's a few paragraphs long. It's but it basically goes into, to be within the law of Wicca, you need to, they always say in love and perfect trust, right? So that's a tenet that you would be subscribed to. Hold on one second. Ginger, what are you doing, baby? Hey, Jen, what are you doing? Huh? You're a silly girl. Yeah, you're a very silly girl. Yes, hi. Yes, hi. Anything else you took out of my purse? You little crazy girl. Just till I took my planner. I was like, what is she like creaking on? But we're okay. We're fine. She did wet my fuzzball a little. That's okay. I saw these and I knew immediately. I was like, oh no. So anyways, hi, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. You're just funny. So, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. So, talking about, you must, the problem is it's written it's in like Old English. You can read it. It's not anything, it's talking about different trees and different things that you would be thinking about. Hey, get out of there! Get out of there! Stop. Good Lord. It's driving me crazy today. Talking about a lot of the directions, elements. The last line, so the last couple lines, said, mind the threefold laws, you should 3 times bad and 3 times good. So that's basically saying, do good things are going to come back to you 3 times as well, bad things, whatever. The next part says, be true in love, this you must, unless your love is false to you. So, be a genuine person, basically. These 8 words the read fulfill, and ye harm none, do what ye will. So that is kind of the biggest difference between Wiccans and witches. So, and I had somebody explain this on a YouTube video that I watched forever ago, and it made so much sense to me. So, as a Wiccan, if a friend was in an abusive relationship, as a traditional Wiccan, if you were subscribing to every single tenet that Wiccans believe in, you could not do a spell, and I'll get into spells later. You could not do a spell to affect that person who was the abuser, where the next time they went to abuse your friend, they broke their hand, or they got caught and they broke their leg or whatever, as a Wiccan, because that would be affecting that person, right? You would be doing, something. You would be putting your energy towards someone else to affect them, honestly, negative or positively. So the other thing talks about, the other part about that a lot of people don't understand is even if it's a like a positive thing, you are now affecting the way that someone's life was meant to go. And then I'll talk about that when we talk about like love spells too, because those drive me crazy. So as a witch, as a traditional witch, if someone is abusing a friend of mine, a family member, whatever. Oh, that's what. So as a Wiccan, you would do a spell to have them move because of their job, to get an epiphany that they shouldn't be abusive, to, you know, something like that. That would be the extent of what you could do as a Wiccan. So, me, I'm not knocking anybody who believes that. I think that's really powerful to be able to not do something to affect someone. For me,
to me, the most suitable positions. I have candles at the back of the altar in the east with the deity figures.
Oh, my shiz is just getting up. Oh, good grief. Okay. So for me, I don't believe that. What is going on? I don't want to answer my phone. So many freaking interruptions today. I just want to freaking film this. Anyways, so for me, if someone's abusive to a friend or a family member of mine, you're damn straight I'm going to do some kind of spell that the next time that person goes to abuse my friend or family member, they're breaking their freaking wrist, or they're breaking their arm, or they're doing it in front of someone who calls and then that person gets arrested. Like, that doesn't fly with me. So that's the main one of the big reasons why I did not subscribe to the Wiccan religion, because I don't agree with that. For me, I'm like, I'm not gonna curse them to die, but I am gonna curse them in my idea of the rule of 3, which is you're doing something bad. This needs to come back on you 3 times as bad. And if I need to be the one to catalyst that, I will be. Another one is, like I think I said earlier, is kind of that devotion. So you do have like a patron, kind of like how, like some Christians or Catholics have like patron saints. As a Wiccan, you would have a patron deity, a patron god, and a patron goddess that you do most of your workings with. Kind of like your home base, I guess. So, I will go over some common misconceptions. Sorry, I'm like not really stitching. It's kind of overcast here today, so it's kind of hard to stitch without this light on, which is like totally washing me out, and I don't like that. I gotta try to look decent to you guys, because usually I come on here just like a hot mess. So what else? So that's kind of that's like a gist of it. So now I'm going to go into some contradictions, because I'm already at like 43 minutes and I'm like, holy crap. So, ouch. Okay, so contradictions, or not contradictions, things that are false about paganism and or witchcraft. Now, disclaimer, these are things that are false to me. These are things that are false that I have knowledge of. And in all of my readings and my studyings that I have done over the past decade, I have not found any of these things to be true, and or I will try to find you the real meaning of it. Number 1, pagans do not believe in the devil. The devil is something that came from Christianity, and when the Crusades happened, again, I'm not blaming anybody, because none of you all were in the Crusades. So when the Crusades happened, that was a point in time when basically the Catholic Church, Christian Church, whatever, Christianity was starting to rule the world, and was spreading very quickly. So in order to quench the cries of people that were, in the outskirts of places where they still very much prescribed to, the ancient ways, which would be paganism. The easiest way to do that was to make their two patron gods evil. The easiest way to do that was by intertwining the devil, who has horns, and the horned god in paganism, who has antlers. So in ancient times, right, when the beginning of basically religion started, and I think most people will agree on this, there was two gods. There was the mother goddess and the god of the hunt, because the two things you needed to survive were food and to keep people coming. So that's how the mother goddess, right, or just the great mother, as sometimes she's referred to, and the horn god came about, because those were like I said, those are the two main things that you needed in order to survive as an ancient tribe. We're talking like cave people, okay? Like we're talking like early hominids, not any like modern era. We're talking early humanoid things, humanoid people. So I guess humanoid, but anyways, so the pagan horned god has antlers, and it was because he was the god of the hunt. And I'll show you. Okay, so in other cultures and religions, they had obviously it looked different because of where they were, right? So up in the north, maybe a bear or a moose was their patron, because if you killed a moose, right, or if you killed a mammoth, you would feed your village for months or whatever. So different cultures had different ones, but I would say the main pagan god of the hunt had antlers. And this is obviously like a Warhammer thing, but yeah, it looked something. Let me look up like pagan god. That's the problem. It's like now the cool thing about pop culture is that like now it's getting like more mainstream. But so this is Hearn. He was the horned god and kind of lord of the forest. But that basically is what the depiction was. So it was, the god of the hunt. It was like, here's one that's, this is like from Warhammer or something. But like, that was the god that they believed in. And then, the Great Mother was obviously a very pregnant woman. That was the Great Mother. So ancient Christians, or not ancient Christians, but Christianity, as it was spreading, as the Crusades were happening, the church was getting impatient, basically. And they needed a way to drive out pagans and make them convert into Christianity. So, easiest way to do that was to make the horned god of the hunt, the devil. Easy peasy, right? So, the devil then was created into a horned figure, and the two were intermingled. And it was evil, obviously, to show support for the devil, so it was the same thing. Thankfully, a lot of people... Also, paganism is a very oral tradition, which means there are some traditions where there is nothing written down. It is all information that is passed to you from family member, from community, from village to whatever. So thankfully, people started writing shit down. And so there are still, ancient rituals and ancient spells that are very much a part of certain cultures, right? So the Norse culture, right? Vikings, Scandinavia, that has a very different ritual spell identity than maybe the Celts had, or even like some Native American tribes have. A Native American religion is intertwined a lot with paganism because there is a lot of those sacred tenets, although Native American religion, obviously, it's an offshoot, or it goes, so it's not paganism, it's something very different. It's very beautiful, and I think it's absolutely fabulous. It's so deep and rich in heritage and culture that it's just mind-blowing. But anyways, that goes off my like religion tangent that I love. So that's kind of easy. Like, we don't have a devil. We don't believe in the devil. We don't believe that there is one God who is evil. Every god and goddess has a certain characteristic that is most prevalent. But evil isn't one of them. There's a god of fear. There's gods of chaos. There's gods of murder. I don't know. There's gods of loss and grief and the underworld and all that. But there isn't like a god of evil. There may be gods who are inherently negative, that you wouldn't necessarily call upon. But, yeah. So when people say witches worship the devil, it's hard. Because some witches may practice some form of Satanism. Satanism is not traditional witchcraft. There may be Satanists who are witches, but not all. It's kind of that same thing like I did with the Wicca and the witches. Some Satanists may be witches, and but not all Satanists are witches, and not all witches are Satanists. So it's kind of weird like that. Also, Satanism, while we're on the topic, is a Christian thing. So Satanism is, your patron god is Lucifer. So Satan is, in my understanding, right? I'm not a Satanist, and I haven't done a ton of research about Satanism, only because I got my time filled with all the books I have about paganism. So my brief understanding of Satanism is that you are all you need to be a good person and live a good life in this world. There are some that kind of get like the anarchist label. There's some that get like the crazy devil worshiper label. But for the most part, I have an understanding that basically you treat each person as a god because you are a god. You are a living, walking, breathing God. That's why you don't need anything else or anyone else to live a life, to live your life how you would like it. So Satanism actually is a very respectful religion because you basically treat every single person as a god because you yourself are a god. Like I said, that's my brief understanding of it. And if anyone out there watching, if anyone is actually watching this, if any of you do have more information about Satanism, let me know. I know there's a couple good books that are out there that I would like to get my hands on, and read about it because people do ask me, well, isn't that the same thing as Satanism? It's like, no, they're totally different. But anyway, so Satanism came out of the Christian church because people were sick of the priests and preachers and saints and whoever else basically acting like they were above everyone else because they were more religious. And it's like, no, everybody here is on the same playing field. And kind of like why does it have to be that way? Why does one person get chosen to be the communicator from God? Kind of a thing. So what's the other misconception? We don't do rituals. Or we do rituals. We don't do sacrifices. There's no sacrificing, especially babies. I don't really know where that came from. I have an assumption that in ancient times, people did sacrifice themselves or prisoners that they had of other tribes or whatever, and villages to the gods. But like everybody did that, so it's not a pagan thing. There are some rural, maybe like fringe groups, who still maybe like sacrifice animals. But that is it. Anytime any kind of ritual like that would happen, it wouldn't be like a daily thing. It would be like a once every, 4 or 5 months. And usually some kind of sacrifice, especially if it's a living thing like an animal. So like a lot of it is like if you sacrifice a chicken. So that's one of the main common ones is rural farmers who still are in cultures where witchcraft is very prevalent, even though it's not really called witchcraft. It's just called something. I don't know. It's called something else. They will like sacrifice the last chicken in order to bring a better harvest or a better, I don't know what you like livestock, that kind of a thing. So it's like a sacrifice of like, we're going to give you our last one that we maybe could have made a profit on or we could have eaten, so that, again, rule of 3, right? When we have our next harvest, it will be better and more fuller, or whatever. So let me see what else. Oh, that's right. I forgot. So there is a horned being, Baphomet. So a lot of people see that and they think, well, that's an upside down pentagram. Pentagram is a star encased in a circle. That is a pagan symbol, a witchcraft symbol mainly. Y'all, it doesn't mean anything except the 5 elements: earth, air, water, fire, and spirit. That is literally all it means. No joke. In no research of mine have I ever found out that it meant something else. Traditionally, it is never. People may have their own idea of what a pentacle means and a pentagram means, but that's it. It's literally a star that shows how all of the elements are connected. That's it. An inverted pentagram, it is called something, I can't remember what it's called, but it came about because the Knights Templar were originally accused of worshiping this figure known as Baphomet, which, again, anti-Christian church, they put that in that symbol and flipped it upside down, and it was a goat with horns. So that is Baphomet. Yeah, it's, some things relate back to Satanism, but again, Satanism is a Christian church thing. Baphomet has nothing to do with paganism. Some people might find him as a god, but he's usually like a satanic representation. He's an icon of Satanism, of a satanic group or whatever. Because that's what it is. So that's not paganism's horn god, though. The closest horn god I think is Kronos. I think that's I can't remember how you say it. I'm not a very good pagan. And that was kind of, and it's a deer head with big giant antlers. So, what else? We're just about at an hour, so I don't want to make this too super long. But I'm trying to think what else. I don't know. Yeah. So, like I said, this is going to be video number 1. I may film a couple of these at a time and then just post them, a couple of days after each other or whatever. Because obviously once I get going talking, I get going talking. So again, today's chart, which I hardly stitched on, is Toil and Trouble by Lottie Da. And yeah, I don't know if you guys like this. If not, let me know. If you guys have any questions or comments or things you want to know about paganism, about witchcraft, leave them below. And I would love to answer them. Like I said, there's no stupid questions if you want to know something. I am a wholehearted believer in that. Just the only thing I ask you is be mindful of how you phrase it. Because I don't want any person to feel judged, and I don't want any person to feel like they can't ask a question. Even if it's something it's like, you think it might be like super crazy and mundane, like I don't care. I will answer it. My goal by doing this little series is to help people become more aware of what paganism is, what witchcraft is. It's not bad. We don't sacrifice babies. We don't. Some people do dance naked in the forest. It's whatever. If they want to, they want to. It's fine. Yeah. Let me know, please. And if you don't feel comfortable commenting, just send me a message on Instagram or here. I don't care. But I will ask you, though, that if you just don't be mean, okay? Like, that's the biggest thing. If you literally watch this entire video just to comment something mean on it, props that you have an hour to kill. That's great. But, the one thing about being very open about my religion is that I've also gotten a lot of flack for being open about my religion. And so I'm like, I've literally heard everything you can say to me about my religion and how it's a horrible thing and how I'm going to burn in hell for all eternity. That's great that you think that. I don't believe in hell. So sorry, I don't. It's not gonna happen because I don't believe in it. So, and I don't say that to be mean. I just say, again, if you don't know something and you're confused about something on a religion or something that's different than yours, do your research, ask questions. If I can leave you guys with one thing that this entire series sums up, it's that if you don't know something, research it. Ask questions from people who do know what it is. Don't judge people. Don't jump to conclusions. And don't believe everything you see. That's my biggest message for you guys. So, like I said, I will film a couple more parts of this. We're going to go into, I'm just going to kind of jump off the deep end and just go into it. I also have a ton of books, and so I'll do a ton of book recommendations. Like I said, I love talking about it because I think it's something that a lot of people can relate to it, especially right now in the crap show that is our world right now. And I also don't want people to feel like I'm doing this to convert people to become pagan or become a witch. Just the more you know. So, all right. Anyways, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. If you sat with me for this long, you're a trooper, and I appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time. All right. Bye.